Last month, I paid $1,400 that never showed up on my tax return. Not sales tax, not income tax, not property tax. These were fees the system calls something else. Healthcare premiums that vanish before my paycheck even lands. Student loan interest that the government subsidizes, for banks, not for me. Childcare costs that rival a second mortgage. These are what I call America's shadow taxes. And here's the thing, after moving to Norway, I discovered 5 of these taxes that simply do not exist here. I'm saving $1,200 every single month. That's $14,400 per year. Enough to buy a used car, fund a year of travel, or invest in my future. By the end of this video, you'll see the exact breakdown of where that money was going in the US and where it isn't going in Norway. Stick with me because hidden tax number 3 is the one nobody talks about, and it's costing American families more than rent. Before we dive in, we need to reframe what a tax actually is. Most people think taxes are what the IRS takes from your paycheck. But economists define a tax more broadly. It's any mandatory cost imposed by the structure of your society. If you must pay it to survive, to work, or to raise a family, it functions as a tax, even if it's labeled as a fee or a premium. In the United States, we have this illusion of low taxes. The federal income tax rate is lower than Norway's, sure. But when you add up the hidden costs, the mandatory expenses that don't appear on a W-2, Americans are quietly paying more. In Norway, the headline tax rate is higher, but the system is transparent. You pay more upfront, and you get more back in services. In the US, you pay less upfront, and then you get nickeled and dimed by private corporations that have turned basic human needs into profit centers. So let's break down the 5 hidden US taxes that evaporate when you cross the Atlantic. Hidden tax number 1, healthcare premiums. In the United States, the average family pays about $700 per month just for health insurance premiums. That's the employee share alone. And that's before you even see a doctor. Then you have deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, out-of-network penalties, and prescription costs. If you're lucky enough to have employer-sponsored insurance, you might think you're getting a deal. But here's the trick. Your employer is paying part of your premium, and that cost is deducted from what they can afford to pay you in salary. The total premium for family coverage now exceeds $2,100 per month. Your employer pays most of it, but that's money that could be going into your paycheck. Economists call this the wage health insurance trade-off. You're paying for it, you just don't see it on your paycheck. In Norway, healthcare is funded through general taxation. I pay 0 kroner per month in premiums. 0 deductible. 0 co-pays for most services. When I visit my doctor, I pay a small fee, around $25, and that's capped annually. Once I hit a threshold of about $300 in a year, everything after that is completely free. They call it the Frikkert system, which literally means free card. Last year, I needed an MRI, saw a specialist, and got a prescription for a chronic condition. Total out-of-pocket cost, $212 for the entire year. In the US, that MRI alone would have cost me $1,500 after insurance. Let me break down the comparison for you. In the United States, an MRI costs around $1,500 after insurance. A specialist visit runs about $200. Annual prescriptions can easily hit $600. Add those together, and you're looking at $2,300 total. In Norway, that same MRI costs me $0 because I've hit my annual cap. The specialist visit is $25. Prescriptions for the year come to about $50. My total? $212. That's a savings of over $2,000 per year, or about $174 every month. Now, here's the myth I need to bust. But Norwegians pay way higher taxes. Yes, income tax is higher. But when you subtract what Americans pay in premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs, the Norwegian system is cheaper for the average person. Think about it this way. In the US, you might pay 22% in taxes plus $700 per month for healthcare premiums. In Norway, you pay around 28% in taxes and $0 per month for healthcare premiums. Run the math on a $60,000 salary, and the Norwegian worker takes home more after healthcare costs. Here's my question for you. If your employer gave you the option to take the money they spend on your health insurance and add it to your salary instead, would you? Drop your answer in the comments because I'm genuinely curious how many people even know how much their employer is paying on their behalf. Hidden tax number 2, student loan interest. Let's talk about the second shadow tax, student loan interest. The average American with student debt pays about $250 per month just in interest. Not principal. Interest. That's money you'll never get back, money that doesn't reduce your debt, money that flows directly to loan servicers and banks. Over 10 years of payments, if you've paid $30,000 total, about $12,000 of that was pure interest. And here's the kicker. In the US, the government subsidizes these loans, but the subsidy goes to the lenders, not the borrowers. The federal government guarantees the loans, which means banks take zero risk, but you're still charged interest rates between 5.5 and 8%. Those rates hit 15-year highs in the mid-20s, and they're still crushing borrowers today. In Norway, higher education is tuition-free at public universities. Even if you're an international student, tuition is either free or heavily subsidized. Norwegian students can take out loans for living expenses through a government fund called Lånekassen, and yes, their interest rates did go up with global inflation, now sitting around 5%. But here's the critical difference. 40% of that loan is automatically converted into a grant if you graduate on time. You read that right. 40% just disappears. And if you work in certain rural or high-need areas after graduation, even more of your loan is forgiven. Let me paint the picture clearly. A U.S. federal student loan typically has an interest rate of around 7% with almost no forgiveness options. If you borrowed $30,000, your monthly payment is about $350. In Norway, through Lånekassen, even with the interest rate now at 5%, 40% of your loan vanishes if you graduate on time. That same $30,000 loan becomes $18,000 in actual debt. Your effective monthly payment drops to around $200. That's $150 saved every single month. I graduated from a U.S. university with $42,000 in debt. Over 10 years, I will pay about $18,000 in interest alone. My Norwegian friends? They graduated debt-free or with minimal loans that cost them less than a gym membership per month, and 40% of what they borrowed was forgiven automatically. If you're currently paying off student loans, drop your monthly payment amount in the comments. Let's see the real numbers. Because I think once we all see what we're collectively paying, it's going to be impossible to ignore. Hidden tax number 3, childcare costs. This is the big one. The hidden tax that bankrupts American families and forces parents, usually mothers, out of the workforce is childcare. In the United States, the average cost of full-time daycare is $1,600 per month. In cities like New York, San Francisco, or Boston, it's closer to $2,500. That's more than most people pay for rent. It's more than a car payment, a mortgage in some states, and more than in-state college tuition in many places. And if you have 2 kids? You're paying more for childcare than most people earn in a year. Think about that for a second. Childcare for 2 kids costs around $38,000 per year. The median income for many workers is $35,000. You'd literally be working just to pay someone else to watch your kids, with nothing left over. This is why so many American parents, especially women, leave the workforce. Not because they want to, but because it's financially impossible to work when childcare costs more than you earn. In Norway, subsidized childcare is a right. And here's where it gets even better. In late 2024, the Norwegian government lowered the maximum price for childcare. The maximum you can pay now for a full-time spot in a public daycare is about $190 per month. 2,000 kroner. That's it. And that's the cap, regardless of your income. If you earn less, you pay even less. If you have multiple children, the second and third child cost even less than that. This isn't charity. This is policy. The Norwegian government recognized that if you want women in the workforce, if you want a birth rate that sustains the economy, and if you want children to thrive, you cannot force families to choose between bankruptcy and raising kids. Let's compare the numbers directly. In the United States, average monthly childcare costs are $1,600. That's $19,200 annually. In Norway, with subsidized public childcare, you pay a maximum of $190 per month. Annually, that's $2,280. The difference? $16,920 per year. That's $1,410 saved every single month. $1,400 per month. That's the difference between a parent staying home and a parent building a career. That's the difference between financial stress and financial security. That's the difference between having kids and deciding you can't afford to. If you're a parent in the US, tell me, what do you pay for childcare each month? And if you're not a parent, would knowing these costs change your decision about having kids? I'll be in the comments for the first 2 hours after this drops to talk through the math with anyone who wants to break it down. Hidden tax number 4, commuting and car dependency. Let's talk about a tax you pay every single day but never see on a bill. Car dependency. In the United States, most cities are designed around cars, not people. Public transit is underfunded, unreliable, or non-existent. Which means if you want to work, you must own a car. The average American now spends about $1,050 per month on car-related expenses, loan payments, insurance, gas, maintenance, parking, and tolls. That's $12,600 per year. And here's what makes this even worse. Car insurance premiums saw double-digit increases in 2024 and 2025. What used to be $150 per month is now $200 or more. And that doesn't include depreciation or the opportunity cost of sitting in traffic for an average of 54 minutes per day. That's 225 hours per year, gone. Almost 10 full days of your life, just sitting in a car going nowhere. In Norway, I don't own a car. I don't need one. Oslo has an integrated public transit system, buses, trams, subways, and ferries, all on one ticket. A monthly transit pass costs about $85. I bike when the weather's nice, and I take the tram when it's not. My commute is 20 minutes, and I spend that time reading, not gripping a steering wheel in rage. Here's how the numbers stack up. In the US, car ownership costs you $1,050 per month. Over a year, that's $12,600. In Norway, using public transit with a monthly pass costs $85 per month. Annually, that's just $1,020. The annual savings? $11,580. That's $965 every month back in your pocket. But here's the deeper point. This isn't just about money. It's about time, stress, and quality of life. Americans lose weeks of their lives each year sitting in traffic. That's time you could spend with family, building a side business, exercising, or just living. How much do you spend on your car each month? Add up the loan, insurance, gas, and parking, and drop the number in the comments. I think a lot of people don't realize how much of their paycheck disappears into their driveway. Hidden tax number 5, retirement savings burden. The fifth shadow tax is one most Americans don't realize they're paying until it's too late, the privatized retirement system. In the US, Social Security is underfunded and insufficient. The average monthly Social Security check is about $2,000. Thanks to cost of living adjustments over the last 2 years, that number has crept up slightly, but you still can't live comfortably on that in most American cities. Which means you must save for retirement on your own, through a 401k or an IRA. If you're lucky, your employer matches a small percentage of your contributions. But the burden is still on you. You have to choose the right funds, manage the risk, pay management fees, and hope the market doesn't crash right before you retire. And those fees? They're invisible. You don't see a bill, but over 30 years, a 1% annual fee can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, it can drain about $70,000 from your retirement savings over 3 decades. In Norway, the retirement system is guaranteed and public. The government pension fund, funded by North Sea oil revenues and general taxation, provides a stable, predictable income in retirement. You don't need to gamble on the stock market. You don't need to pay Wall Street fund managers. On top of that, many Norwegian employers offer additional private pensions, but the floor is high enough that you won't end up eating cat food in your 70s if the market crashes. Let me break this down clearly. In the US, Using the 401k system, there's no guaranteed income. You're facing management fees of 1% or more annually. Market risk is high. The average monthly benefit from Social Security alone is around $2,000. In Norway, the public pension system guarantees your income. Management fees are minimal. Market risk is low because the government manages the fund. The average monthly benefit from the public pension is around $2,600 or more. The financial peace of mind alone is worth more than any dollar amount. How much are you putting away for retirement each month? And do you feel confident you'll actually have enough? Drop your honest answer below because I think this is the fear that keeps a lot of Americans up at night. Alright, let's add it all up. Hidden tax number 1, healthcare premiums. Monthly savings, $526. Hidden tax number 2, student loan interest. Monthly savings, $150. Hidden tax number 3, childcare costs. Monthly savings, $1,410. Hidden tax number 4, car dependency. Monthly savings, $965. Hidden tax number 5, retirement fees and risk. Monthly savings, estimated $200 when you factor in fees and the reduction in financial stress. If you add all of those together, the total monthly savings comes to $3,251. Wait, you might be saying, you said $1,200 in the title. Here's the truth, not every American pays all 5 of these taxes. If you don't have kids, you're not paying for childcare. If you live in a city with decent transit, you might not own a car. But the average American family does pay most of these. For a family with 1 child, moderate student debt, and car dependency, the realistic monthly savings in Norway is $1,200 to $1,800. That's $14,400 to $21,600 per year. That's life-changing money. That's a down payment on a house, a year of travel, or financial security. If this video just shifted the way you think about taxes, wealth, and quality of life, then you need to subscribe to this channel. Because Nexora isn't just about comparing countries. It's about challenging the systems we've been told are normal. It's about finding better ways to live, work, and build a future. Every week, I publish deep dives like this one, breaking down the hidden structures that shape our lives in the US and abroad. Next week, I'm breaking down Norway's parental leave system and why American parents are getting robbed of time with their newborns. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the mission. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept "this is just how it is" as an answer. Alright, here's the final question, and I need you to answer this in the comments. If you could eliminate just one of these 5 hidden taxes from your life, which one would it be? Healthcare costs? Student loan interest? Childcare? Car dependency? Or the retirement gamble? I'll be responding to comments for the next 2 hours, and I want to hear your reasoning. Because the thing is, we could fix these systems. Other countries have. The question is whether we're willing to demand it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the comments, and I'll see you next week.